What are the best maps in Overwatch?
But films. The new map isn't on there.
We will add in the new map at the end. To make one of these tier lists, you have to create a Twitter account, and then you have to log into your Twitter account on TierMaker. I did not want to do that, so I'm using this one, which does not have that map. All right, let's just start from top left, bottom right. So we have Nepal, control point map. You know what? I'm going to put Nepal at A. I think Nepal is a really fun map. The hazard on the control point that it's showing right here, the big pit, is super, super fun, especially because I'm a tank player. Love Roadhog, love hooking people into that pit. It has a lot of cool flanking options. The other control points are good too. The main draw is this map right here. Lijang gets a B. I would say it's just alright. It's a control point map. The environment is super cool, but other than that, the maps are pretty just regular. Blizzard World, this one's probably going to be controversial, but I would honestly put Blizzard World at C. This beginning area right here with the one-way choke point, oh my god. That honestly is the most annoying map to play on attack. Trying to push your whole team through there just to get to the payload is ridiculously difficult. Aside from that, the payload push is kind of long. Not my favorite map. Eichenwalde, A tier for sure. Love Eichenwalde. Love the environment. I love all the peaks you can do from up on the castle. I think that one has a lot of really cool peaks. It's a good sniper map, or it's really just great for characters that have high mobility. I think it's unique. I think it adds a lot of fun to the game. I think the payload is the right length. I will say that it's not an S tier because the second half of the payload is kind of boring, just getting stuck in that little room. But other than that, great map. Dorado's kind of the same thing as Eichenwalde. It's just a payload map with a lot of mobility. You need to have a lot of vertical mobility for that map. So I think it's fun because I like to play DPS like Junkrat or Ashe on that map, or tanks. You got Winston. I think it's unique, but it ends up kind of not executing the verticality feature as well as Eichenwalde does. Route 66, I'm going to give a C tier. I think the first point is pretty cool. I think the second and third half of the payload push is kind of just like a sludge. It's boring, it's slow. The shape of the map and the design of the map just feels kind of awkward for the second and third half. Havana, I will admit, I have so far played Havana one time since it just got back into the map rotation. I will say when I did play it, seems like a solid D tier map. I kind of wish they would take it back out of the map pool, to be honest. The first payload point is really, really, really bad. The long stretch that you can see right here in the image, that is hell. That is just absolute hell when you're on attack. Same kind of thing for the castle area when you get to the third point. Pushing into that castle and pushing straight into their spawn is not my favorite thing in the world. Lunar, I forget the exact name of this. What is it? Lunar Colony, Lunar Horizon, something like that. Overwatch 1 map. I have not played it yet in Overwatch 2. My memory on this one's going to be a little bit foggy since I haven't played it in a couple of years. But I remember it being a good map. I'd probably put it B tier. I don't want to comment on it too much since I haven't played it in a while. Hollywood, you know what? I think Hollywood's a good map. I'll give Hollywood. Hollywood's a solid B tier map. I think it's a cool map with some cool concepts. I think you get a little bit of verticality. It's got some cool features like the elevator. But again, there are some kind of indoor spots where all the fighting just feels really cramped and awkward. Like really pushing the payload to that last point, I think it's kind of gross, kind of awkward. Ilios, I'm going to put it A. I think super, super cool scenery, first of all. I would say beyond the scenery, the control points are all unique. All three maps are completely different from each other, so it's never boring on control. You have really, really cool features like the well, the notorious Ilios well. And then the third control point is just that long grassy map. It's really, really good for Widow. Awesome playing Widow on that map. Junkertown, I'm going to put Junkertown at A. Honestly, I love Junkertown. I love the first point, the long range open environment PvP. If you guys couldn't tell by now, I'm definitely a sniper player. I prefer playing snipers or long distance characters, so these maps were awesome for me. I think that map is just a lot more unique than other ones just because of the wide open environment. So you get to play heroes that you wouldn't normally get to play, like Sigma on tank or really, really good Widow map. Second point is kind of like balls in your mouth, kind of annoying to play. But after the second point, the third payload point is really fun. You know what? Shoot me, but I might have to put King's Row as S tier. Personally, I love playing King's Row. It has so much verticality. The entire map just feels like new and different. I love the verticality of King's Row. I think the scenery is super cool. Being set in a city is really awesome. There's like a lot of back routes you can take. There's a lot of back rooms that you can walk through to get high ground, even when you're not a character that can normally get high ground. Just a lot of secret routes you can take, secret health packs. back routes that just makes the map really dynamic and fun to play. It feels like the most balanced payload map for defenders and for attackers. I think every time I play King's Row, both teams generally will push the point all the way to the end with just very little time left, which I think is a good indicator of balance on the payload maps. Oasis City Center, I'll be honest, is not my favorite map in the world. I'm honestly gonna put it at B tier. I think the little ledge that you can get up on with the bounce pad, I know it's dynamic and I know it's verticality. I've been talking about that all video. It just feels really awkward and cramped. Plus, heroes that are able to get up on top of the dome in the middle, or heroes that are able to get up on the ledge quickly, just totally dominate. So whenever you're playing tank on that map, just like last night I was playing tank on that map, you just get railed in the butt from all the high ground heroes. They're all just shooting you from different directions, and it just feels really, really impossible to escape sometimes because you have to be down on the ground to control the point. Esperança, sheesh, man. I'm really trying to be objective about this because I'm not a big fan of push maps in general. Yeah, I honestly just want to give it a C tier really badly. I'm sorry, I have a bias towards push maps because whenever you're playing tank on push maps, I feel like I'm generally the one on the point, or at least not the one on the high ground, and high ground is so dominant on those maps because anyone that pushes the robot just gets beamed down by people up in the rooms for a really long time. Paraíso, I love it, honestly. I think a lot of people are going to disagree with me, but I love Paraíso. The really vibrant colors are awesome. I think the first part of defense is that choke point where you have to go under the bridge. It's hard, but it's fair. I think that one, unlike what I was talking about on Blizzard World, I think this choke point is hard, but it's doable. There's one or two side routes you can take, or if you have vertical movement, you can help your team a little bit in trying to get through that choke point. So I'm honestly going to give it an A. Circuit Royale. I don't know why they chose this picture for Circuit Royale. This is a really, really weird picture to choose because this is at the back of the final part of the payload push. But anyways, I'm going to give it an S tier. Honestly, I think Circuit Royale is an S tier map. It's got a good combination of verticality and length at the same time. And it also has a lot of side routes and back routes, like, for example, this pool right here. A lot of ways that DPS can flank and get an advantage for the team. As a tank, it's a little bit less interesting because you have to stick on the point, or at least close-ish to the point. I will say, as DPS, Circuit Royale is probably my favorite map in the game. It's either Circuit Royale, King's Row, or Eichenwalde. For tank, I would say all the maps are a little bit less fun just because you have to stay too close to the point. You don't get to explore as much. Anyways, yeah, I'm getting off topic. It's got a lot of super interesting peaks. Midtown, not a big Midtown guy. Midtown's pretty mid. I'm gonna give Midtown a B tier. If you're on attack, the opening part just feels like a total slam. It's very difficult to push through that choke point, and then even when you do push the choke point, the point is behind a fire truck, which makes it hard for your supports to get to you. If you're a DPS or a tank that got to the point, your supports also have to get to the point, putting them at risk of dying. Colosseo, I'm not entirely there on push maps still. I might have to give Colosseo a D tier, honestly. Once you lose the forward spawn, once another team gets the forward spawn up here, it's so hard to break through because if they get that forward spawn, by the time you push the bot to mid, their entire team is already back there because the spawn is really, really close. I would say, at least with Esperança, the spawn isn't as close to the midpoint, so you have to actually do a little bit of walking. With this one, you can pretty much see the midpoint from the spawn. If you're a sniper, you can hop right out of spawn. Immediately you're getting to work, getting back that forward spawn. It just feels really unbalanced. Shambali Monastery, S tier. Hey, feel free to yell at me for this one. I don't know how you guys feel about Shambali Monastery, but Shambali Monastery may be my favorite map in the game. It's super fun when you're playing all the roles. It's got a good combination of styles of map because you have the first point where you kind of have to get characters that are a little bit better at closer range. Then second point, you have to get characters that are vertical or maybe a little bit more long range. Third point, you got to get characters that are better at mid range. I very rarely actually push the payload past the third point though. The best thing about that map is it's really awesome to play on defense. It's super unbalanced on the defensive side. Defense prevents the payload from being pushed to the third point in 90% of games. But at the same time, both sides get to play defense, so I think being a good defensive player on that map matters more than being a good attack player. I happen to prefer defense, so yeah, it's my favorite map. I want to say that that's New Queen Street. I think that's supposed to be New Queen Street. If it is New Queen Street, I'll give it a C. Same reasoning as both the push maps. I'm not a fan of push maps. You know what? I'll give it a B. I think it's more balanced than most of the other push maps and a little bit more fun. But in general, push maps just kind of plop hard. Temple of Anubis. I don't really know how that made it on here. That was an old Overwatch 1 2CP map. I don't know. I think a lot of people hated 2CP. I don't remember hating 2CP at all when I played Overwatch 1. Again, I wasn't a pro player when I played Overwatch 1. I remember it being a cool map. I mean, I'll just put it at B tier. I think it's just another pretty good map. Hanamura. I also don't know why. I'm not entirely sure why Hanamura is on here either, because this is not an Overwatch 2 map. I'm just gonna plop it in with Temple of Anubis. I thought 2CP was cool. I thought it was a cool map. Rialto. I'm gonna put Rialto as an A tier. Great environment. The water hazard is fun to fuck around with. I think the bridge part of the payload is fun. That map especially feels nice on tank. It feels like it's a map where you're really able to excel at making space if you're good at tank. Similarly for DPS, a lot of verticality, a lot of cool flank options, lots of cover. There's a lot of cover, but it also feels like a very open map at the same time. It's not cramped, but it does have cover, so I think that makes it a great map. Lijang, this one's actually Lijang. I said Busan earlier was Lijang because I'm not gonna lie, I actually get the two mixed up all the time. I'm gonna put Lijang in a B. I think Lijang Tower is a really cool map. Lijang Tower is probably an A tier map, but the other two maps that come with Lijang, I would say are a C, maybe even D tier maps. Very boring, very like kind of cramped, just sit on the point kind of maps. Numbani finally back in rotation for Overwatch 2. Please get rid of the map pools. No one likes map pools, just put them all in. I barely remember anything about Numbani because I haven't played it since Overwatch 1. I will just have to give it a B tier. That's kind of the default for maps I don't remember. I'm sorry, I haven't played Numbani since Overwatch 1. I do remember it being a super fun map, but I don't want to speak on it too much. Another 2CP map from Overwatch 1. This one, I'm going to give this one an A. I'm not going to lie, I am going to give this one an A. I remember playing that one in Overwatch 1. There was a way you could get around. You could use the water to your advantage and get on this ledge on the left side of the map out of the spawn if you were able to get over the water. So you could do some really cool movements and get on the point. I think that one allowed for cool flanks. I think it allowed for a lot of creative gameplay. So for that reason, it's going to be A. Watchpoint Gibraltar. I also think it's an A tier map. I feel like the first part of the attack isn't so devastatingly hard if you're on attack. Pushing the payload is kind of medium difficulty. It just feels like a very balanced team fight map. And I would say it's kind of 50-50 whether you're able to push the payload all the way or not, which I would say is the indicator of a balanced map. Now for the final map, so far, this is just so far, I've only played the map once or twice. Honest opinion, I gotta put it in a C tier. When I was playing Arctic, it did feel like a very claustrophobic map. I'm not a big fan of claustrophobic maps. I feel like it promotes kind of the spam characters like Junkrat or Symmetra or Torb, where you just sit in a corner and just throw shit around. I don't know, maybe my opinion might develop over time as I play the map more, but for now I'm gonna put it at C tier. Thank you guys for watching. This was kind of a more serious tier list. Usually I do like funny tier lists. If you want to see a funny tier list, check out this video right here. If not, have a nice day.